Welcome, fifth graders, to day number 4. We are with our continuing study of making inferences and drawing conclusions. Remember, in the past, we have talked about drawing conclusions with a weird cowboy picture. We have talked about drawing conclusions with with an excerpt from the poem Paul Revere's Ride. And last time we worked on drawing conclusions with a story on water pollution, essentially ocean levels and water pollution. Okay, today we're going to take that a step further, and we're going to use kind of the skills that we've been working on, and we're going to use it to answer some text dependent questions. Okay, as usual, let's begin this lesson with hopefully our learning objectives. So by the end of today's lesson, this is what we will do, and you will have a better understanding of. First off, you will learn strategies for analyzing questions and finding answers, clues, and evidence. You will identify clues and evidence in a text and use them to draw a conclusion. You will answer text-dependent draw conclusion questions. And then finally, you will use academic sentence frames to discuss strategies. So as we've done every time with each one of these drawing conclusion videos, we are going to look at what the strategy entails. So when we draw conclusions, remember, a conclusion is a decision about meaning reached by analyzing clues or evidence, okay? Whether it be in a picture, like the cowboy picture, or whether it be in an article or a story, whatever it might be, okay? A conclusion is based on abundant evidence. It is certain because all the evidence points to it, okay? A conclusion makes sense given what the facts and personal experience tell us, okay? So we're going to take information from the book. We're going to take things that we already know. We're going to combine them together, and that's going to help us with form our conclusion, okay? And remember, when it talks about the heavy lifting and the work required, authors expect readers to draw conclusions, to understand things that are happening without the author having to state everything. Okay, the author's looking for, gives you hints, gives you evidence, and then you draw a conclusion from there. And that's something that we have to do all the time. We do it when we drive in a car. If, all of a sudden you see an ambulance and sirens, and you see, police cars, and you see a car that's kind of smashed up. You draw the conclusion that there was an accident. You didn't say, oh, look, all these people just came together and decided to hang out with this weird looking car. I don't know why anyone would design a car like that. You don't do that. You draw the conclusion that there was an accident and people are there to help. Okay? All right. When we talk about sentence frames today, after reading this test, I can conclude that, once again, I have not changed that. That should say text. I apologize. Ugh. Okay? Although today you do have a test. So, clues that lead me to this conclusion are what clues? Okay? Making inferences help me. All right? Or simplified, today we can think about, because of the evidence in this passage, I can conclude blank. Okay, so that's something that's a new, and that's a much more simple way of looking at it. We don't have to list the clues. Now we're just making that conclusion. Okay, because of the evidence in this passage, I can conclude this. Okay, because right now we know that you've already taken into account that you have this, you looked at evidence, and we're not asking for the evidence today. All right, so let's look at poster number 4, okay, the nuclear energy. So why don't you pause the video right now, and I want you to read the passage by yourself, okay? Now, one of the things I'm asking you to do while you're reading is to make inferences to help you understand what's going on, okay? So as you read, make those inferences, make those connections to what you already know, and to help you understand. So pause the video and read, and when you're done, restart the video. Now, hopefully you have read the story and it makes sense. If not, you can always pause the video, reread the story, reread the article so it makes sense to you. All right. Now, sometimes you need to answer questions about a passage you've read. Some questions require you to draw conclusions. Today we're going to read and answer questions. Some of the questions will ask you to draw a conclusion or identify clues that the author gave. All right. So we're looking at this now, this BLM 5, and that's in your packet. And question number 1 says, what can you conclude about the efficiency of nuclear energy from the evidence in this passage? Okay, A, nuclear energy saves money because nuclear power plants are very small. B, nuclear energy takes a very large amount of energy to produce because metal is hard. Or C, nuclear energy produces electricity more cheaply and cleanly than fossil fuels. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, what is the question asking us to do? Okay, is it asking us to explain cause and effect? Is it asking us to summarize? Okay, the question is, what strategy do we need? Now, hopefully, if you looked at this word right here, conclude, you know that this question is asking us to draw a conclusion. Okay, and how do we know that? Well, it says conclude, okay, and then it asks for evidence, which is very important. That's how we know, conclude and evidence. All right, so to draw a conclusion, I will have to find several pieces of evidence in the passage that point to one particular meaning. And I will have to think about what I already know about the topic. Let me read the question again to be sure this is what I must do. Okay, what can you conclude about the efficiency of nuclear energy from the evidence in this passage? Okay, now we're ready to reread the passage to find the evidence we need. In the first paragraph, I read that splitting uranium atoms releases a huge amount of energy. Atoms are very tiny, so uranium fuel must not take up much room. Okay, the next paragraph, I should probably turn this. Okay, so we have nuclear energy comes from uranium. Uranium is metal. Into much smaller, release huge amount of energy. Okay, the next paragraph states nuclear energy costs much less than energy from fossil fuels. Okay, I know that efficiency means a process gives off a lot of product for a small cost. Other parts of the passage state that nuclear energy does not pollute the air. Okay. Nuclear energy also leads to less air pollution. And nuclear energy helps meet a growing need for electricity. Nuclear energy helps meet our growing demand for electricity. Okay. Together, the clues suggest that nuclear energy is a clean and efficient way to make electricity. The third answer fits all this evidence together. Okay, nuclear energy produces electricity, which it does, more cheaply, which it's stated in the article, and cleanly than fossil fuels. So the answer makes sense. Okay, when I look at the clues and evidence in the text. Okay, the clues and evidence in the text support this conclusion here. So I will choose C. All right. So what I'd like you to do, boys and girls, is I'd like you to continue with and complete this this quiz or this, I don't know, these comprehension questions. I don't know what we want to call it. Okay. And when you're done, so you can either A, finish the video now, or B, finish the quiz, pause the video, finish the quiz, and then restart the video when you're done. Okay, because the last thing we have to do is what we do with every video when we talk about strategies, is we talk about what it means. Okay, remember, our conclusion is a decision about meaning reached by analyzing clues and evidence. Okay, like you did today. You talked about the evidence. What if you haven't? You might be finishing that up. Depends upon which order you did things. Okay. A conclusion is based on abundant evidence. Okay, so we can't just make it off one thing that isn't as important. It generally is based on 2 or 3 things, okay? It is certain because all of the evidence points to it, all right? A conclusion makes sense given what the facts and personal experience tell us. Remember that it's not just what the author says, okay? You have to bring something with you. You have to bring your personal experience. Now, sometimes we don't have a lot of personal experience in some things, so it makes it more difficult to 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 draw a conclusion. But then we have to rely more on what the text is telling us. All right? And then finally, remember that authors expect readers to draw conclusions, to understand ideas that are implied but not stated in a text. Remember, the author's expecting you to do some of the work too. It shouldn't all just be the author explaining things. Okay? Sometimes, and especially as we get more advanced as readers, we need to meet the author halfway. All right, so that's all we got for today. Hopefully everything made sense. Now that you're done, make sure to respond to the discussion questions that are Unit 7, Week 1, Day 4. What strategy did we use to answer questions about the text? And then notice how we looked for evidence and drew a conclusion to understand the questions. So just what did you do? How did you make that happen? All right? So going forward, we'd like you to practice drawing conclusions. The strategy can help you understand questions and remember what you read in your textbooks and stories. It can also help you when you take tests. All right, that's all I got.